Ask the Dean, episode 91. I'm Dr. Ryan Gray with the MAP team. Dr. Scott Wright, how are you doing, my friend?
Hello. I'm doing really well. It's a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas, so I'm excited.
A beautiful day in the neighborhood, as they say.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have Verinia Granum,
Hello.
live from New York.
Yes, sadly not Saturday night, but Wednesday afternoons
Wednesday
work
afternoon.
just
Yes.
as nice.
That works.
Hello. Yes.
Hello. And MAP's co-founder, Rachel Grubbs. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm very grateful for magic beans that come in a coffee mug.
The magic beans, yes.
Those beans.
Not ones that grow giant bean stalks, but we'll take magic beans that keep us
just the
alive.
ones, that make me jittery / happy.
Keep us alive, keep us awake. That
Yes.
worked.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, we are here to answer your questions over at premed.tv or mapped.tv. We are live in both of those places, as well as a few others, but that's where we're taking questions. So come one, come all. We'll rock and roll with the questions, including, is it clinical?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, we're starting off strong.
Yeah. Yes, that's the answer. Yes.
Yes.
Hi,
So
Ryan.
there are some schools that don't like it, but yes, it's clinical.
You know what I was thinking is, assuming it's in person, right? It's clinical.
Yeah, I don't like virtual scribing. A lot of students are jumping to that.
Yeah.
Still, maybe at the beginning of the pandemic when it's like nobody could do anything. But yeah, I wouldn't do virtual anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
T. Wallace asks, watching from Honolulu. Hello,
Ooh,
aloha, as they say.
aloha.
Aloha.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that you do. Your channels have been amazing. Going to my mapped profile. Going to get my mapped profile started shortly. Awesome.
Yes.
Nice.
Thanks,
nice.
T. Wallace. So
I
no
didn't
question.
actually read your comment well enough to realize it wasn't a question, but thanks.
Woohoo.
Thank you.
That's what happens when you're semi-tasking.
Yeah.
All right, let's try again from RM. RM's a regular here.
Yep.
Does being a CERT, community emergency response team, count as shadowing, clinical, or both? Don't know.
I don't know what CERT is.
So here, like let's go big picture. We have how many couple 100,000 pre-med students out there doing all kinds of amazing things. You need to come to us or use your own critical thinking to go, what am I doing? Throwing out, here's a title, here's a title, here's a title, here's where I work, here's what I do. Title. Like that doesn't tell us anything. Yes, EMT, we know what it is. Scribe, we know what it is, right? Being a shadow, literally, we know what it is. So you can't, I don't know what a CERT is. Scott doesn't know what a CERT is. Vernie doesn't know what a CERT is. Rachel doesn't know what a CERT is. So we need more, and try to come to us with, here's what I do, here's what I think. Agree, not agree.
I mean, I think he's saying community emergency response team.
Yeah,
Maybe
I agree.
that's what
Yes.
CERT stands
Yes.
for.
I
But
just
Yeah,
think
that's what it stands for. I still don't know what it means.
right.
Yeah.
But I
what he
agree with you.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was in the military. I was on lots of emergency
Mhm.
response teams. I don't think that's clinical.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a quick example about titles. So when I was a wee young lass and I had been out of college a matter of months, I was really excited to get this position at a test prep company, and my title was AD. I was assistant director, and I was like, oh, I've got director in my title, like room for advancement. I was so thrilled. At the same time in his career, my father was running all of Latin America for a major company that I won't name, but a really big company that makes your toothpaste and shampoo and stuff. You know it. And his title was assistant director. So when you say I was this, I still don't know what you did every day.
Yeah.
So Verinia, for the class, for the uninitiated or who needs a refresher, what's clinical?
Clinical experience is any experience in which you are directly involved in the care, taking care of a patient, making them comfortable, taking care of their needs, potentially working with a doctor, charting, scribing, as we were just discussing. But basically, hands-on, direct patient care experience.
Great.
Do I get an
So
A?
you got an A. So friends, when
Yay.
Brian says come to us with details, that's what he's looking for, is tell us what kind of thing you did on the job, and then tell us, I'm doing these things and I think they're clinical because XYZ, or I'm not sure they count as clinical because I'm limited in these ways. And then we'll help you troubleshoot it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Ryan gets top corner again. I'm coming down off my soapbox.
Abdul asks, I'm applying this year. I have about 900 hours of clinical experience. Can I leave my clinical experience for internships as a biochem major? All right. One of my favorite questions. I have enough. I'm done. Can I go do something else now? Scott, what do you think?
Well, that smacks of checkbox mentality. And I think, and Rachel says this a lot, that part of what clinical experience is not just showing the medical schools that you know what it's all about and you've done it, but it is also to motivate you. And you know, I think, and I agree with this completely, that your clinical experiences should be some of your most exciting times of the week. That's what should feed you. And so I would say, you know, you know, you have to balance these out. It sounds like you're wanting to leave the clinical experience because you've got an internship coming up as a biochem major. I'm not sure, you know, about that, but you know, if you need to cut back on the clinical hours, but I would say continue to do them for your own benefit, for your own motivation, for your own feeding your soul.
Yeah. You shouldn't want to leave your clinical experiences, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that doesn't mean that's all you have to do.
Right.
But keep your feet wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you don't love your clinical gig, maybe you need a new one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you don't like clinical at all, that's
not
a
good
different
sign.
problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah. Right.
Our friend Magnolia
Yeah.
asks, if my ECs are very leadership heavy, should leadership be a part of my personal statement? Oh, whoa, I love the personal statement questions. So, Verinia, is the personal statement prompt, tell me how good of a leader you are?
No.
Is
Not
the
as far
personal
as I can tell.
statement prompt, tell me how leadership will be a part of your job as a doctor?
Not at all.
Is the prompt, tell me why you want to be a doctor and how good of a leader you are?
No. It's just,
Can McKenna add leadership into her personal statement?
can she, you said? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, you can.
You can.
Right. But at the end of the day, I think what Dr. Gray is not very subtly implying is that the whole point of the personal statement should be, why do you want to be a doctor?
Yeah.
And then as you're describing your why along the way, your leadership abilities will probably naturally come out in that as well.
Or in your activity section where
Or-
leadership is a category where you can select. I had a great conversation yesterday with a student who mom was in the background and mom, near the end of the call, we started talking about personal statements and mom was like, my daughter, she has lots of grit. And I think that should be in the personal statement. I'm like, stop, mom, stop. Like, no. What you're implying is your daughter has the most grit out of everyone that applying to medical school. Like, that's not the goal here.
Yeah.
She was like, darn it, turned and walked away.
So I just opened up Mapped and I went to our application simulator. So I've skipped a couple steps here just for the folks at home. So if you're looking here at the map screen, you can see I've opened up the Mapped app, application services. I've gone to AMCAS primary and it's pretty small, but I'll highlight. If you look over here kind of at the right, The entire prompt is use the space provided to explain why you want to go to medical school. Now, there's a whole bunch more words here, so anyone with a mapped account can read it. You can also see it if you've got an AMCAS account from last year. They give you a couple more questions to consider, but those questions are, why medicine? What motivates you to learn more about medicine? What do you want medical schools to know about you that hasn't been disclosed in another section of the application? But the PS is where you get to really talk about why medicine, not all the other things about you that you're going to talk about in other parts of the application.
There you go.
All right.
Nicholas. Hello, Nicholas. 30 days until the official MCAT. How can I maximize scores this last month? Highest full length is a 502 and target is 512. Any recommendations for using AAMC resources when I'm fully committed to studying for the exam? Rachel Grubbs. What do you think?
I want this to be interactive. I'm like, you guys know I answer this all the time. All right, Nicholas. So you said you're fully committed to studying. You've got AAMC resources. So if you're taking full lengths, are you spending 1 to 2 times as long reviewing those exams as you spent taking them? So if you take an exam on a Monday, you might spend significant time Tuesday and Wednesday going over every question, right or wrong, making flashcards, making a lessons learned journal, whatever your preferred method of review is, and making sure that if there's a content error, you're correcting whatever piece of data you forgot or misunderstood. And if there's some kind of critical reasoning thing you tapped into where, you know, especially with cars, you could argue yourself into any one answer. If you're learning to think like the MCAT, then that's a point worth noting. So, I mean, there's lots more I could say, but in the last month, that's probably the main thing you're doing is practice tests and detailed practice tests, analysis. Do you have more to chime in, Scott? I could give you the hot seat.
No, I liked what you said.
Show everyone's face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Questions.
McKenna says I need more magic beans. I agree. I'll let someone else be on camera while I sip some coffee.
How do unranked waitlists work? All right, so let's talk about what are waitlists. So, Scott, did UT Southwestern, when you were there, did they have ranked or unranked waitlists?
We had a ranked waitlist.
All right, so you have a ranked waitlist.
Yeah, we had a ranked waitlist. What? Which meant that the wait list was ranked. But basically meant that everybody is sequential, 1 through however many were on the wait list. But that didn't mean that we were just going to go 1, 2, 3 as spots came open. It typically meant that we were going to take if we got a spot that came open, we might take the top 10 or 15 of those people and re-review all of them and decide of those top 15 who we were going to make the offer to based on a new review of the application materials and everything we knew about them. So my feeling is that for an unranked wait list, that's kind of how it works. That they're reviewing. Maybe they don't review the entire. Maybe they have. Maybe they don't review the entire list, but maybe they have groups, and this is group 1, group 2, group 3, and so when they have a position come open, they're going to re-review everybody in group 1 and decide, okay, who do we make this offer to? It's possible that's how it works.
Yeah. So ranked wait list potentially is we like you. We like you the most out of everyone who we haven't accepted yet. And all the way down to we don't like you, but we're still going to waitlist you for some reason. Right. And then unranked is just we have a pile of people that we haven't rejected yet, we haven't accepted yet, and we'll dig through the pile as necessary.
Yep. That's exactly
that is it. So reach out to all your friends. It's the time of year where if your friends have picked where they want to go, they need to get off of their acceptances that they may hold elsewhere.
Yep. That's what starts the cascade of events.
Yeah. It's a big domino effect.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're definitely seeing that already in social media. People talking about it's time to start letting your nose go.
Yeah.
Here, you could have it. It's a good dad joke.
I was just about
Yeah,
to say.
it is.
I got your nose. Rashna asks, I grew up in Michigan, did undergrad at Michigan. I'm assuming Michigan. But my family moved to New Mexico a few years ago. You guys typing in these abbreviations. Do not communicate with schools like this, please. I graduated December 21 and I'm living there since, applying in 21-22 cycle. Would I be considered an in-state student in Michigan? No.
Probably not.
Sorry, fam.
Nope. Yeah, so most schools will use what the state considers a resident. So, yeah, you wouldn't be.
Here's a kind of general question.
Angel asks, what can premeds do to ensure they are accepted the first time? I love that brain picture. That's pretty cool. So, Verinia, one and done. We want to be one and done here. So obviously step one, get a mapped account so you can start tracking everything. What else should students be doing?
Number one.
Numero uno.
Get a mapped account. Get a crystal ball that will kind of predict the future. Hopefully, you didn't just arrive at this decision and you've sort of been slowly coming to terms with the idea of, hey, this might be something I want to do. And you've been seeking out opportunities that will highlight for you that, yeah, this is what I want to do. And you've been continuing those experiences, reflecting on them and building up, your own sort of philosophy and approach to working with people, working with sick people. And you've gained opportunities to strengthen those skills along the way, right? You're taking care of, becoming familiar with the work environment and knowing what it will be like. Along the way, you've also been studying your basic sciences really, really hard, really learning the material, not just to pass the test, but to understand the material and keeping those notes and saving those notes. And you've been preparing yourself mentally, physically for this whole process. So that by the time you apply, you're showing that academically you're capable of doing this. But more importantly, you're showing that you've committed to this for valid reasons, for reasons that make sense. It's your passion, it's evident in what you've been doing along the way in your activities, and not just to impress a committee. If you haven't been doing this along the way, you can kind of hope that maybe you're a career changer and you've come to this decision a little later in life, but focus on studying, learning the material, and gaining those experiences to be able to then kind of convince yourself and show to a committee, an admissions committee, that this is really what you want to do. I think that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah,
there's no clear-cut answer to this one.
Yeah, and I would hasten to add that the word insure makes me very nervous because there is no insuring. We reviewed a application just the other day and talked about it again today of a student that had a very high GPA, had a very strong, very high above 520 MCAT score, and applied to 30 schools and did not get one interview.
Yeah.
So, they're insuring it. I don't know that insure is the right word there.
Yeah. I always go back to, there are things that you can control and there are things that you can't control.
Exactly.
You cannot control how an admissions committee is going to look at your application, judge your writing, judge your activities, judge an interview if you get to that stage. You can't control that. The only thing that you can do is put your best foot forward every single day that you are a pre-med. And to do that, that means you're getting clinical experience to prove to yourself that you want to be a doctor. And so you can talk about why you want to be a doctor when it comes to your essays and interviewing. It's to get some shadowing experience so that you understand the role of a physician and not just what you see on Grey's Anatomy or Scrubs or whatever the doctor show of the day is. It's to potentially get some research if you're interested in that. It's to be a very well-rounded person, follow your passions, all this fun stuff that we talk about, and to be a good student. Right? You need to be a good student, a good enough student to show that you're academically capable of doing well in medical school, doing well enough on the MCAT to show and hopefully give confidence to the medical schools that you're going to pass the boards the first time you take them. All of those things. And then the rest is kind of up to chance a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right.
That was a loaded question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Is it a good idea to reach out to a school after 8 weeks post-interview? I already sent a letter of intent and still waiting for a decision. So don't call us, we'll call you. Yeah. There's a fine line between patient and harassment.
Yeah. You've already sent a letter of intent. I think you got to just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're all for agreeing on that one. Now is the time where you take up mindful breathing or Netflix binging or knitting or whatever it is you need to do to take your mind off the waiting period.
Yeah.
And good luck, because it's hard. This is the hardest part, the waiting.
Yep.
Definitely.
Sorry, I'm looking for a fresh question here. Here we go.
Madison asks, when is the best time to email a letter of interest or intent, or whatever LOI choice that one is? My top choice school accepts them, and they have historically released the wait list around April 1st. Was just wondering if they're if I should wait or not. Do it.
Yeah.
If they accept
Pull
it, do it.
Pull the trigger. Yeah.
Yeah. And so someone listening to this may go, well, wait a minute. You just told the last person not to harass the school. You're telling this person to harass the school. What's the difference here, Scott?
So the previous question said they had already sent a letter of intent and was wanting to know if they could reach out again. This question is about when do I send the letter of intent? So yeah, this is not harassment because this is the first reach out point. And so yeah, I think you go ahead and go for it. But after you send the letter of intent, then you leave them alone.
Yeah. Yep. And the best part of this question is the student understands some schools accept them, some schools don't. And she explicitly was like, my school accepts them.
I was just going to call Madison out for that. Yeah, that's great. That you can tell she's been listening. She did the research.
Yep.
Good job.
Good job, Madison.
And good luck.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yvette asks, hello, everyone. Houston, Texas. I'm planning on reapplying, but I graduated in 2019. Do I ask the professors who wrote my letters of evaluation to redate or rewrite? Brittany, what do you think?
I would vote for a rewrite. I would definitely ask them to rewrite. Some professors may give you some pushback and, say, oh, well, you haven't done anything differently since you took my class or, whatever it is. But provide them with an update of what you've been doing. Send them a copy of your resume just to kind of nudge them in that direction. But I would ask for a rewrite.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
And ideally, you've been in touch with them and they know all the cool things you've done in the last 3 years.
Yep.
Let's see.
What month do medical schools usually start conducting interviews? How early have you seen interviews, Scott? Do you see them kind of end of July-ish, mid-July-ish? Or is that a little too early?
Well, so no, I think so. The question here is conduct interviews as opposed to schedule interviews. And I think, yeah, end of July, they're starting to schedule interviews, but I don't think schools are conducting interviews until, maybe August and maybe even September for some schools. So it kind of just depends on the school and their timeline.
Yep.
All right.
I love that person's name, Married to Turkey. So are they calling their spouse a turkey? Is that what that is? I don't.
Yeah. Or is he Turkish?
Oh yeah.
We don't know.
So. Yeah.
Wait, now I was like taking a look at the picture. I'm like, wait, which comment was I about to pick? Okay, there we go.
Jessica asks, aside from reading the mission statement, how do you make your school list and determine which ones are a good fit? premedyears.com/437 is how to build your ultimate med school list that I did with our friend Joanne Snap, former director at the Health Professions Advising Office at UC Davis. She was a former director of admissions as well at a med school in New York. Yeah, it's a lot of students shortcut the school list. They're like, I worked really hard on my personal statement, really hard on my activities, and I'm just going to put in a bunch of schools that the MSAR says my stats match up with. and don't put any thought into why am I applying to this school? What is their mission? Which gets kind of generic after a while, but what kind of programs do they have that will support me? Do they have any special programs, maybe overseas in countries that I'm interested in going to and impacting communities over there? It takes a lot of work to research medical schools, and it's not something you can just shortcut. So
yep, agreed. I have a student that I'm working with who is applying to 50 schools.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good donation to the AAMC.
Yeah.
Yep. And to those schools,
Yeah.
Yeah. 50. They do understand that comes with lots of writing.
Yep.
Oh.
Oof.
So
Yeah.
using the medical school application cost estimator on medical school HQ. And then I'll share my screen here real quick. I haven't talked about that one.
Is that appexpenses.com? Is that the?
Yeah, appexpenses.com. So on this page, we go to EdgeStream. So 50 schools, let's assume they're all just regular AMCAS schools, right? If we use the slider and go all the way to 50 is the max that I put on there. That's funny. So I'll zoom in a little bit here. So 50 schools, they don't qualify for FAP. No DO, no Texas, wherever you can pick a city. So that's $22,000, $2,200 just AMCAS on top of another 3,700 roughly, based on 75 per secondary, assuming they do them all. And then this still has estimated travel costs that we can kind of ignore for now. Thankfully, most schools are still doing virtual interviews, and then deposits and all kinds of stuff. So you can see estimated costs.
Wow.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Again, this is with travel. So, but you're looking at probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, all said and told.
Well, and what this doesn't get into is maybe an average of 4 to 5 secondaries per school.
Yeah.
And no shade to this particular student, right? I mean, that does seem large. Obviously, we're reacting. Maybe you've got a reason, but just so our listeners understand.
Yep.
There's costs involved. Yeah.
Well, cost of time and money, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
50 primaries is mostly a money thing, but 50 secondaries is a whole
Time.
lot.
So,
Like, that's a lot of essays to pre-write while you're getting verified.
yeah. And that the average, according to the AAMC, for last cycle is 18 schools now. So it's crept up from 14 when I first started looking at those numbers several years ago to now 18. And so that's another cool like $6 or $7 million in the AAMC's pockets, just because students are applying to more schools because they're getting anxious.
Yep.
Jared asks, can you talk about yield protection? I have a 522 MCAT and I am very interested in a particular DO program. How can I convey my interest in their program? Oh, I love this question because I worked with a student a couple years ago who had this very specific issue, very similar MCAT score. I think he was a 520. He owned a house in Northern California, and he was very interested to go to Toro, which was right. He could stay in his house. He could go to the school. And he was concerned about this. And I think a valid concern, because a lot of programs are going to go, you have a 522. And yes, like you shouldn't be applying to DO schools just because you have poor stats, or only MD schools because you have good stats. Like, apply to the schools based on premedyears.com/437. Apply to the schools that you think you're going to thrive at. And that includes MD and DO. But there are programs, because interviews are limited in terms of how many spots they have, programs can go, you know what? Historically, we've interviewed 522 MCAT students before, and they never come. They never come here. They get an offer somewhere else at an MD school or a quote unquote better DO school, whatever that may be. And they just never come. So we're not going to bother interviewing someone with a 522, even though they have a stellar application, because we just know historically they won't come. So that is yield protection. So Scott, what should a student do to reach out to the school and go, like, please, I promise, like, I want to come here, and here's why.
Well, I think this is where the secondary application really becomes very important for that type of student. To hopefully you'll be able, depending on what the questions are on their secondary, that you'll be able to convey that very interest that you have to them about why you're interested in their school. But otherwise, there's really not a way to do that. I mean, you can't just call up the school and say, oh, well, because you don't want to offend the school by saying, I have a 522 and I realize that you may be uninterested in interviewing me because of that. Message to the school is, you're not good enough school for a 522 MCAT person. Or whatever. So I think all you can do is just what you indicated earlier. You do your part. You got to let them do their part. I understand your interest in their program. You got to convey it in the time that you have in the primary and in the second, most specifically in the secondary application. But I don't know that there's any other way to do that.
Yeah. This is one where I always lean on, you're your best advocate. And as long as you do it respectfully, in terms of the language that you're using and the brevity of your communication, is potentially give it some time, a normal kind of time. And if you think they're kind of ignoring you, just shoot an email to go, hey, like, here's why I'm interested. I would love for you to take a look at my application.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
All right.
Ella asks, would I be considered a minority since I am half Uyghur, minority in China, and half Kazakhstan, but was born in Central Asia and look like an Eastern Asian? So, luckily, the application is not based on what you look like. It's based on the boxes that you check, as simple as that seems. So every medical school is going to have potentially a different classification based on the communities that they serve and the it sounds weird to say, the minorities that they're looking for, potentially. The diversity is a better way to say that. The diversity that they're looking for to help support their mission and their community. And so for some medical schools, you may be considered a minority applicant, and other schools, maybe not.
Yeah, that's true.
Zalam. I'm a registered nurse working for 2.5 years now. My undergrad GPA was a 3.47 from both chemistry and nursing degree. Should I do a postbac or master's program? Ha. What's the trend?
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Rachel, we want to show mapped again to show what we mean by what's the trend.
Sure.
So for everyone watching, all 100+ of you watching right now across Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and everywhere else, when students go onto Reddit, Student Doctor Network, Premed Hangout, anywhere else where students are posting questions like this, the first thing that you should ask yourself, and the first thing I want you to comment on, is share your mapped GPA graph, because then I'll know. Right? What is the trend? What is the story behind that GPA?
Okay, sharing take 2. Now without 419 errors. I just was trying to do too much too fast.
All right.
Oh, well, that's not the right one. Maybe we're
We'll log
gonna
out. We'll log in. We'll get
Good.
there. We'll get there.
Please stand by, friends. This is what happens when I try to switch from my admin account to a student account too fast.
But I think the point we're trying to make is that it's very hard for us to tell just from your GPA what your needs are, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, and is that science GPA? Is that overall GPA? So more information needed.
Yeah, the other question I had is if with a nursing degree are all of the prereqs going to qualify?
That is true.
Probably
Okay.
not.
Can you now see the GPA graph?
We got it.
Yep.
You want to talk about that, Rachel?
Okay. So when you log into MAP for the very first time, you're going to have a blank dashboard. It does require a little bit of work on your part. You need to find your school in our school list, enter your courses, enter your activities, enter your MCAT practice tests if you have them, and it starts to give you all this pretty data. And the GPA calculator is actually free. So whether or not you pay for a MAP subscription, every pre-med is welcome to sign up for MAP just to take advantage of this free calculator. So you can see here in this graph, I'm going to zoom just a little, that I'm looking at an AMCAS view, but if I wanted, I could look at a COMIS or Texas TMD SAS. And what we were talking about with trend here is this green line. So I'm going to take some lines away for a minute. So let's start with the blue. This student has cumulative GPA of 3.28. And if you look at this blue line, starts around a 3.0, dips a little in the middle, lands right just south of 3.3. So, not the world's greatest GPA, not horrible either. Now, if I start adding back some lines, orange is the science, it's about the same. So they didn't have any major discrepancies with science. Non-science looks like was a little more uneven, but it evens, kind of doesn't impact the trend much. And then here's the semester trend. So now look at this green line. You can see they dip way down for a while and then kind of come back and start to make a comeback. So when we're talking about trends, what we're saying is a GPA is not necessarily good or bad just based on its number. Again, student with 3.28 cumulative, I'm looking at their rolling cumulative. Now, if I scroll down and just look at their class standing GPAs, I'm starting to see something different. Freshman year, they had a 310, sophomore year, 324, only a few credits senior year. So it looks like maybe, that was a summer and they still need to finish their senior year. But so far, grades junior and senior year are a lot better, right? So this is a student who is starting to trend up. So maybe they were doing mostly B's before, but it looks like they're starting to move more into ACAT territory. And if you scroll down to cumulative or class standing science GPA, you can see those numbers even stronger. So what I'm seeing here still is not the world's greatest number, but here is a student who, as they get into more and more advanced high-level science, is doing better. They seem to be overcoming the issues they had before. This is one example. It's a demo account. But when you say 347, we don't know. Did you get 6 C's 4 years ago? Or did you get 6 C's last semester? It makes a
Yeah.
difference.
And Scott, there's always a lot of confusion because what a lot of students see online is the PDF of an AMCAS application or TMDSAS application or whatever.
Right.
But medical schools have their own databases, their own
Right.
kind of front end user interfaces that
Right.
potentially can graph and show all of that
Yep.
type of data to the medical school so they can make an informed decision on how the student's academic capability may match up with what they want.
Yep. That's exactly right. Exactly right. So they're going to get the raw data, and then they're going to dump it into their system. And then their system is going to give them, as you said, whatever they've designed it to do, which may be graphs, which may be a table of some sort, it could be anything.
Yep.
But in order for them to help them understand, kind of what your GPA history looks like, what your academic history looks like.
Yep. And maps.com, go sign up for an account, no credit card required. And then you can just keep using the account after the free trial ends to continue to track your GPA, track your MCAT, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you can sign up for an account and chat with us.
Yeah.
But not required. Everybody gets the free calculator. All right. We still got about 10 minutes. Let's see what's happening in comments.
Apparently the got your nose is the equivalent of giving the middle finger in Turkey.
Okay.
I'm glad I never did that. I've been to Turkey a couple times. I'm glad I never did that.
Who was that posted that response?
Oh, it was Married from Turkey, right?
Married to Turkey.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know.
That's great.
If I'm ever in Turkey.
Airman Turkey, don't get anybody's nose.
You imagine like doing that to a baby. Why are you mad at my baby? Okay, sorry. Focus on.
I just got accepted to Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine. What are your thoughts on going to a newer medical school? Go.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Congrats. Yeah. That's awesome.
Hooray.
Hackensack, I believe, has graduated their first class. So they're fully accredited at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure. Fact check me on that. But yeah.
And let me use this question as a jumping off point to address an issue. Do not apply to a medical school that you will not go to.
Yeah.
And we've had this come up a couple of times recently where a student got accepted to a school and then is having second thoughts about that school and now is wanting to pull out and maybe reapply next year. And this is a terrible idea. If you get accepted to a medical school, you go. And when you're looking at your school list and stuff, and you're developing that school list about which schools you're going to apply to, if you're not on board and willing to go to the schools you apply to, then don't apply to that school.
Yeah.
You need to make an assumption that that's the only school that you're going to get accepted to, and are you willing to go to that school? So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So I want to share this because I don't think a lot of students understand the whole accreditation process. The LCME is the accreditation body for MD schools in this country. And you can go to this list and see what's going on. And you can see a lot of schools have some preliminary accreditation, which means they have accepted their first class, but they haven't graduated their first class. You can see Cal North State on here. Thought they were going to get their full accreditation after graduating their first class, and they're on probation right now. They have some issues. And so I pulled up this list real quick to see, and Hackensack still is in their provisional. They haven't graduated their first class. It'll be this year. And so the LCME will come back in, take a look at everything. If all of the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, then they should get their full accreditation without any issues.
Yep.
So it's been around long enough. Shouldn't be any big issues. That's one of the benefits of SDN, because SDN has a pretty powerful kind of school specific threads, both on the pre-med and med student side. So you can go and ask questions and see if there are any big issues. It came up recently on Reddit that there's a school in Florida that seems to maybe have lots of issues. So it's always good to keep an ear out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Joseph asks, I've been notified of an academic dismissal from my graduate program. I'm sorry to hear that. Do I withdraw from the program or risk making high enough in my current class? Well, I'm not sure. If you were dismissed, you're dismissed.
Yeah, you can't continue unless they're allowing him to finish the term.
Maybe it's a, hey, if you do this poorly in this current semester, you're going to be dismissed.
Right.
Whatever. I don't know, Joseph.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Joseph.
It's rough.
How do you foresee interviews being conducted in the next cycle? Oh. My assumption is that schools are going to go back to in person, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually had an interview prep with a student. Got called for this cycle, and it's in person in Buffalo.
Yeah, some schools are doing them.
Yeah. So first one so far.
Arizona, Buffalo, Oklahoma, Alabama. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
You know, my feeling is I agree with you that I think schools are going to want to go back to in-person interviewing. But I think that there will be some schools that may have some sort of a hybrid where you can have a choice of what you want to do.
I hope so.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see how things play out. But I think the schools maybe have seen that they can be successful and that they can work and they can bring in a good class and you know, all that stuff, doing it virtually. So
yeah. But then you're going to bring in the normal kind of pre-med neuroticism of,
absolutely.
well, if I do it virtual, is that going to show them that I'm really not that interested? And it's hard.
Right. Overthinking it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, overthinking, but also a lot of the system currently does reward people who have more resources.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a valid concern to think.
Yeah, it is.
If I can't afford that last minute pain flight, am I going to be punished? I hope not, but
yeah,
I understand that worry.
Can we do this one? I love, like, will I be able to get into MD school if I do my first years at a community college? Yes.
Yes.
And you continue to do well.
Yeah, you do well at community college and you continue to do well. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we seem to have had some confusion about that recently. I know sometimes we poo-poo community college in certain scenarios, but to be clear, the thing that we're most likely to worry about is if you took courses at a 4-year, maybe more than once, and ended up on that third attempt getting a pass at a community college. That has the optic of, did you look for something easy? We're not saying 2-year to 4-year is almost always fine, because that's usually in economics. But once you're at a 4-year, the expectation is typically that you're going to stay there. Especially for any new courses, any science courses.
Yep.
All right. Looking to see if there's anything good.
Joseph, by the way, Joseph has an update to his thing, so we may want to,
I'll come back to you, Sid.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So it was a threat of dismissal if they don't do well enough.
Yeah.
Well, if they're currently threatened with dismissal, that B is not really going to kind of help, long term, right? So it's been a pattern now at this point.
Yeah. I mean, this is
tough one. Sorry.
This is a time, Joseph, for a deep sense of reflection on your part.
It's just what I was
Why are you struggling in your current program, in your current graduate program? What's going on that's causing this? That's the bigger issue that you've got to address and reflect on and figure out what's happening here that is causing this problem. I think when you say, what is my best path to medical school, the very first step in that path is you've got to reflect and figure out what's going on now that has caused you to get to this point. Because if you can't address that, then it may not be likely to go well.
Yeah, and I've joked several times about it, wishing I had a time machine. Joseph's in this tough situation, but Dr. Wright has said many times before to be wary of using master's programs to enhance your GPA, because they do tend, I don't know why I'm spotting Dr. Wright when I'm talking, they do tend to give academic probation if you get below a B.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a funky program to be in, knowing that A's are good and B's are the bare minimum. Right? That's their whole grading scale, very unofficially, of course. But we've said many times that if you're looking to do GPA enhancement, if you still have upper level undergraduate sciences to take, whether it's DIY or postbac, that's often a better way to go. Now, masters sometimes are the right choice for people for lots of reasons, one of which might be, I already took all the postbacs under the sun, right? Or all the upper level sciences I could. Right. So we're not saying masters are bad. And again, I know this doesn't help poor Joseph, but I'm always thinking like, well, I don't have a time machine, but we might have someone who could be Joseph in 2 years and I can help them. So if you're struggling with school, pause, reflect, don't keep getting C's. Figure out what you need to do to improve. And if you can, go postbac, go undergrad or postbac before you go masters.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I teased Sid. I put up his question. I'm going to put it back now.
Sid asks, what is the best time frame to apply to medical school? Ideally, I want to apply June 1st, but I give myself a reasonable range in case things happen. Brittany, what do you think?
Yeah, so early in the cycle is always best. I would say you want to try to apply no later, apply when you're ready, but ideally I think end of June, middle of July is sort of when you start to kind of I'd say middle of July is when it starts to get a little bit later in the cycle. August, September, then that's definitely later in the cycle, much, much later in the cycle. So I don't know what things might happen that you want to give yourself a reasonable range, but I'd say by the end of, you want to try to get that in by the end of June.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
That should do it.
Yes.
Another Ask the Dean in the books, episode 91, 9 away from 100. Oh, we're going to have a extravaganza in 9 weeks, I think. We'll have fun. We'll bring beer and wine and no. Okay, never mind. We won't bring. Why not?
Maybe,
we're adults here.
Maybe some of us will.
Oh yes. Some of us will.
Sorry, that yeah.
I think
it was a reflex.
So I think it might coincide with when the application opens too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. That same Wednesday. I think that's 9 weeks. Wow.
We could do a whole lot of.
I might be off, but
no, I think we were a little early.
Yeah.
We're a couple weeks early.
Yeah.
That's all right. All right. Well, we appreciate all of you being here, hanging out with us. We're here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer your questions. I also do Instagram Live typically Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern. So come hang out with me there as well. And go sign up for a free Mapped account using that 30 days free promo code or referral code, rather. And using that code, you can get access to all of the features that Mapped app offers, including interacting with us through the Mapped advising chat inside of Mapped app. So check it out.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
See you next
Thanks
week,
for
guys.
coming.
Bye everybody.